Interpretation. Question. To which of the four categories of oneness does the phrase exposing, signifying, awakening, and entering correspond? Answer. To the oneness of reality. Question. How many types of interpretation does this include? Answer. There are two types. First, I shall quote the Saddharma Pundarika Sutra Upadesa and discuss three interpretive categories, and then I shall utilize four types of interpretation based on the commentary in the Fa Hua Huen Chu by Chi Yi. Question. What are the passages quoted in the discussion of three interpretive categories? Answer. The Saddharma Pundarika Sutra Upadesa says, first is the meaning of supremacy. There is no other deed except the attainment of universal wisdom. As the Lotus Sutra says, the Buddha's knowledge and insight are revealed in order to lead sentient beings to attain purity. Therefore he appears in the world. Second, the meaning of sameness is, Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Buddhas are equal with regard to the Dharma body. It is as the Lotus Sutra says, that the Buddha appears in the world because he wishes to signify the Buddha's knowledge and insight to sentient beings. Third, the meaning of the unknown. Those of the two vehicles do not know the ultimate one Buddha vehicle. Therefore, it is as the Lotus Sutra says, that the Buddha appears in the world because he wishes to awaken sentient beings concerning the Buddha's knowledge and insight. Fourth, the Buddha manifests immeasurable deeds of wisdom for the sake of leading them to be enlightened concerning the stage of non-retrogression. It is, as the Lotus Sutra says, that the Buddha wishes to lead sentient beings to enter the Buddha's knowledge and insight. Since the second and third categories are discussed in detail in the Saddharma Pundarika Sutra Upadesa, I shall not discuss them at length. Next, four interpretations based on the commentary. Question. What are the four types of interpretations? Answer. 1. Interpretation according to levels. 2. Interpretation of the four kinds of wisdom. 3. Interpretation of the four doctrines. And 4. Interpretation of the four ways of contemplating the mind. Question. What is the gist of the interpretation according to levels? Answer. The four words, exposing, signifying, awakening, and entering, are compared with the 40 levels of attainment. Therefore, it is said to be an interpretation according to levels. Question. How do they compare? Answer. Exposing corresponds to the 10 abodes. Signifying corresponds to the 10 levels of practice. Awakening corresponds to the 10 levels of merit transference. And entering corresponds to the 10 stages. Question. Why does the word exposing correspond to the 10 abodes and so forth to the word entering corresponding to the 10 stages? Answer. On the first level of the 10 abodes, one destroys the delusion of ignorance, exposes the potential for Buddhahood, and perceives the true aspects of reality. Therefore, the word exposing corresponds to the 10 abodes. Also, within the 10 levels of practice, the obstacle of delusions is already removed so that all the merits of the Dharma realm are manifestly indicated and clear. Therefore, signifying corresponds to the 10 levels of practice. Next, within the 10 levels of merit transference, obstacles are removed. The essence of reality is manifest, and the practice of the Dharma realm is clear. Therefore, awakening corresponds to the 10 levels of merit transference. Next, within the 10 stages, phenomenal appearances and reality are understood to be integrated, and one can freely enter the sea of universal wisdom. Therefore, entering corresponds to the 10 stages. Question. If, as you have explained above, this should be understood as successive stages, what about the meaning of the perfect teaching? Answer. The virtuous qualities that are to come are already latently present in the causal levels. The good roots of the past are also contained in the resultant stages. It is analogous to moonlight, which dispels darkness, waxing and waning while the moon itself does not change. Second, the interpretation according to the four wisdoms. Question: what are the four wisdoms? Answer: 1. Wisdom of the path. 2. Various wisdoms of the path. 3. Wisdom concerning the emptiness of everything. And 4. Universal wisdom. Question: to which teaching do these four wisdoms correspond? Answer: these are the four wisdoms of the perfect teaching. Question: how do they correspond with regard to exposing, signifying, awakening, and entering? Answer: they correspond in the same way as the next example. First equals exposing, second equals signifying, third equals awakening, and fourth equals entering. Third, the interpretation according to the four doctrines. Question: what are the four doctrines? Answer: 1. The doctrine of existence. 2. The doctrine of emptiness. 3. The doctrine of both emptiness and existence. And 4. The doctrine of neither emptiness nor existence. Question: to which of the four teachings do these four doctrines correspond? Answer: these are the four doctrines of the perfect teaching. Question: how do they correspond with regard to exposing, and so forth? Answer: they correspond in the same way as above. Question: the doctrines for understanding reality are four. Is the reality that is understood also four? Answer: although there are four doctrines for understanding reality, the reality that is understood is one. For example, there are many outer gates for entering the king's palace, but the inside is one. That is, all gates lead to one place. Fourth, interpretation with regard to contemplating the mind. Question: how do you make distinctions according to exposing and so forth with regard to contemplating the mind? Answer: contemplate the principle of the threefold truth and the nature of the mind. To contemplate this clearly and purely is called exposing. Though it is difficult to conceptualize the nature of the mind, to merge the thoughts of emptiness, conventional existence, and the middle calmly, just as they are, is called signifying. For the thoughts of emptiness, conventional existence, and the middle to be three yet one yet three, is called awakening. The thoughts of emptiness, conventional existence, and the middle are not emptiness, conventional existence, nor the middle, yet they equally illuminate emptiness, conventional existence, and the middle. This is called entering. Question: what is the origin of these four interpretations? Answer: the perception of reality depends on the level of attainment. The level of attainment depends on wisdom. The arousing of wisdom depends on doctrine. The penetrating understanding of doctrine depends on contemplation. Due to the practice of contemplation, one understands doctrine. Due to the understanding of doctrine, one attains wisdom. Due to the attainment of wisdom, one establishes a certain level of attainment. Due to establishing a level of attainment, one can perceive reality. One reality is perceived. Therefore, it is called the oneness of reality. Question: does each of the four terms, exposing, signifying, awakening, and entering, include all four types of interpretation? And are the four terms all related? Answer: each term has these four interpretations, and each of the four interpretations is related to these four terms. Question: how are the four terms related to the four interpretations? Answer: the interpretation of four wisdoms is related to exposing. The interpretation of contemplating the mind is related to signifying. The four doctrines are related to awakening. The four levels are related to entering. Question: is there scriptural evidence for these four types of interpretation? Answer: the Siddharma Pundarika Sutra Upadesa says the interpretation of four levels is made in order to, quote, illustrate the stage of non-retrogression, close quote. The treatise says that the interpretation of the four wisdoms is made in order that, quote, the Tathagata may illumine the truth, close quote. The treatise says that the interpretation of contemplating the mind is made for the sake of, quote, the meaning of sameness, close quote. The treatise says that the interpretation of the four doctrines is made because, quote, they do not know the ultimate state, close quote. Question. It is interpreted that there are exceedingly many explanations given for interpreting, exposing, signifying, awakening, and entering. Why do you reduce it to one explanation? Answer. There are exceedingly many explanations because we have not yet examined the unique contribution of the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra's unique contribution is the doctrine of the one vehicle, which is difficult to conceptualize. It cannot be fathomed by ordinary people, although it is praised by noble men. Teachers and disciples should know it. Now, relying on the meaning and following the text, I shall summarize it in 10 pairs by discussing its different features. 1. The assurance of imminent Buddhahood is given to those of the two vehicles in the 3rd chapter of the Lotus Sutra, parables, and the Tathagata's original enlightenment from the distant past is exposed in the 16th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the lifespan of the Tathagata. 2. Rejoicing over hearing a verse from the Lotus Sutra and praising it until it is passed on to the 50th person, whose benefit upon hearing it is to reach the highest stage of the Bodhisattva, wherein one will attain Buddhahood after this one life, is explained in the 18th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the merits of appropriate joy. 3. In the 12th chapter, Devadatta, Sakyamuni indicates that the activity of overcoming the 5 major sins was his original teacher, and Manjushri converts the 8-year-old dragon girl. 4. In the 18th chapter, the merits of appropriate joy, everyone, upon hearing one verse from the Lotus Sutra, is given assurance of Buddhahood. The merit accumulated by preserving the name of the Lotus Sutra is immeasurable. 5. In the 23rd chapter, the former affairs of the Bodhisattva by Sajja Guru, it is explained that if one hears the message of the Lotus Sutra and keeps its teachings, one can put an end to rebirth as a woman. If one hears, reads, and chants the Lotus Sutra, one will neither grow old nor die. 6. In the 19th chapter, the good qualities of the Dharma teacher, it is explained how the 5 types of Dharma teachers manifest and attain the qualities of the Buddha. While undertaking the 4 practices of serenity, one dreams of entering the stages of the 10 abodes. 7. In the 26th chapter, Dharani, it explains that if a man torments or disturbs a Dharma teacher, his head will split into 7 parts. One who pays homage has more than 10 blessings. 8. One life of the Buddha is now past and cut off, but its teachings are praiseworthy. The 10 parables of the Lotus Sutra are presented. 9. In the 15th chapter, welling up out of the earth, innumerable witnesses for the Buddha arise out of the ground, and Ajita, the future Buddha Maitreya, does not know even one of them. The Dragon King of the Lotus Flower in the East does not yet know the basis. 10. As is explained in the 7th chapter, the parable of the magic castle, the traces of the Buddha's transformations appeared 3,000 incalculable eons ago, and as is explained in the chapter, the lifespan of the Tathagata, Buddhahood was originally fulfilled 500 incalculable eons ago. The phenomena of the original basis and the transformational traces of the Buddha are mysterious. This is not explained in all of the other sutras. Such passages are found only in this Lotus Sutra. This is indicated on the basis of what is appropriate according to the capabilities of sentient beings. If not unique, what is it? Also, the other interpretations are made in order to lead to and prepare for this explanation. There are thus many interpretations of the Buddha's knowledge and insight. Question. As you say, the subtle Dharma of the Lotus Sutra should be expounded quickly by the Buddha. Why did he not expound it for more than 30 years after he attained Buddhahood? Answer: because people were not ready, and the time was not right. In the 30-odd years after his attainment of Buddhahood, he made distinctions in the one Buddha vehicle and expounded 3. Question: for what reason did he now expound the real truth for the first time? Answer: because people were ready and the time was right. He expounded only the unique, subtle, one vehicle. Question: is the doctrine of the one vehicle in this Lotus Sutra and the doctrine of the one vehicle in the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Srimala Devi Sutra, and so forth the same or different? Answer: the term is the same, but the meaning is different. Question: what do you mean when you say that the meaning is different? Answer: the doctrine of the one vehicle in the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Srimala Devi Sutra, and so forth contains expedient means, but the doctrine of the one vehicle in the Lotus Sutra rejects all expedient means. Therefore, one can perceive that the meaning is different. Question: what is the meaning of containing expedient means and rejecting expedient means? Answer: in one, the 3 vehicles exist outside the one vehicle. Therefore, it contains expedient means. In the other, the 3 do not exist outside. Therefore, it is said to reject expedient means. Question: how many causes are utilized in interpreting the one vehicle that rejects expedient means? Answer: based on the Siddharma Pundarika Sutra Upadesa, 4 causes are given in interpreting the one vehicle. Question: what are the 4 causes? These are the exposing, signifying, awakening, and entering, expounded above. Question: are these 4 causes the same or different from the 10 causes in the Mahayana Samgraha? Answer: these are all the same. Question: what do you mean by these being the same? Answer: both treatises are the same in leading those whose nature is that of the 2 vehicles to enter the one vehicle. Question: what do you mean when you say that they are the same in entering the one vehicle? Answer: the Siddharma Pundarika Sutra Upadesa says, quote, those who are of a determined nature to be Shravakas have roots that are still immature, and therefore the Buddha does not give them assurance of Buddhahood. Close quote. The Mahayana Sangraha says, quote, because the emptiness of their dharmas and their selflessness are equal, the Buddha secretly expounded the one vehicle. Close quote. Question: the passage still immature and the words secret intention are certainly not similar. Why do you say that they are the same in entering? Answer: it has already been said that their roots are still immature, but it should be known that the roots will certainly mature. Also, the intention of the Mahayana Samgraha is that the time for the fulfillment of Buddhahood has not arrived. The meaning of assurance of Buddhahood is to prepare one for the gift of eventual Buddhahood. Therefore, it is called a secret intention. It does not mean that they will not eventually fulfill Buddhahood. The treatise also says, quote, those of an already determined Shravaka nature can become Bodhisattvas through further training of their roots. Close quote. Therefore, it is clearly known that even those of a determined nature of the 2 vehicles can fulfill Buddhahood. All things with form and consciousness have the nature of awakening. Is there any man or woman who cannot fulfill Buddhahood? If one believes in the universal fulfillment of Buddhahood, he will be given the fruit of Vairochana of ultimate enlightenment. If one argues over the fulfillment or non-fulfillment of Buddhahood, one should fear the possibility of falling into the Avicii hell. The perfect teaching and the perfect exposition are gathered in this text, the Lotus Sutra. If one reads and chants it, one can attain the wisdom of the Buddha.